All right, we are officially live. Hello everybody watching, and hello Origami, who for the very first time ever is revealing
God.
who he is to the public.
This guy.
This is a great day. The crows are singing. We have angels in the air. It's incredible. What? Crows are singing.
Crows don't sing.
Crows sing.
They yell.
They don't crow. No singing.
I sing. I sing.
Do you?
I'm about to, just to prove y'all wrong.
I'll sing with you.
What are we gonna sing?
Remember? I don't know.
No. I think we can do this. You want to sing that song? Do you remember?
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend.
I'll help you carry on.
Let's stop derailing.
Come on. You need to get an album out there. Share that with the world.
I think we can do this, man. You just got to be with me on this. We'll have our own recording studio. We'll put out an album, the Krogami special.
Yes, greatest hits. Come on.
We can do this, man.
Toy Bounty Hunter's in the stream. Hi, Toy Bounty Hunter. Yeah, I know. I doxed myself. Well, whatever. Crow wouldn't stop. He was so annoying.
Dave Marks is singing now, so that's good. All right.
He knows the words.
You saying I don't know the words?
Can you please just go ahead?
Guys. Come on, you got a computer in front of you. Words and just
we can Google the lyrics. We can all do this together. All right, everybody, please do us a favor. Say welcome to Athena Finger, who's taking time out of her busy schedule to chill with me and Origami, which is an incredible honor because personally, I wouldn't take time out of my busy day to spend time with me. I know what a terrible individual I am. Or I might make up for it though.
Wow. Right. You guys seem pretty chill and cool.
No one's ever said that before.
Oh, how we have misled her. How we have misled her, Aura. Okay, so what are we doing today? We're going to be discussing with Athena Finger her grandfather's legacy, the struggle to get him credited as the as one of the creators of Batman. Mm-hmm. We will be taking questions. Nothing can be asked regarding the legalities behind any agreements with DC or DC Comics, as people like to often misstate.
Well, it's actually DC Warner Brothers now, if you want to get technical. So
I hate being technical, though.
I know, but if you're going to reference the company, you should at least reference them properly because it wasn't just DC that I had to fight. I had to fight Warner Brothers. I mean, that's international huge. So it's I can emphasize the magnitude.
I can personally state Warner Brothers is a terrible company. So
I don't know. There's stuff out there.
Did you see Batman versus Superman? I
was the first one that Bill's name was in.
This is true. That is true. Well, that would be the one good thing about that film.
But I mean, Warner Brothers has put out awesome stuff. I mean, come on, they're responsible for Bugs Bunny.
She's right. Merry Melodies and all that.
She's right. I apologize. I personally, I'm just not a fan of Warner Brothers, but these are all true things. These are very true things. I was wrong, and I will be pro enough to admit that I was wrong.
Mm-hmm. You said you were a product of the 90s. Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, Batman animated series.
Oh God, she's owning me so hard. Just stop.
on your own channel, in your own dojo, just getting destroyed.
This is terrible. Oh wait, okay. I gotta highlight this comment from Dave Marks. Yeah. It's a farce. Crow is being nice to Aura because of third wheel effect. Dave Marks. Dave, buddy, no, absolutely not. Do me. I'm just going to do real quick. I'm going to be tweeting out the stream to everybody on the twatters. Can you do us a favor, Athena? Introduce yourself, and we'll jump right into things if that's okay.
Sure. I'm Athena Finger. I am the granddaughter of Bill Finger, who's the co-creator and the original writer of Batman. He also was the co-creator of Green Lantern. I have to mention that since it's his 80th anniversary this year. And he also co-created Wildcat. He wrote the first Kryptonite story for Superman, and he's done so much in his career that I can't even list it all. So that's who I am. Yay!
I was like, I thought you did way more than that, to be honest.
Oh,
like, you're not just.
You want me to list all the things I do? Let's see.
Yes.
I'm a math professor. I'm also an artist. I'm an excellent cook. Let's see. I'm a great mom. I'm a good driver. Does that count?
I got no points on the license, like none. So, don't let me derail it. Crone, do you want to kick off?
Yes, I do. Now, a couple things. We did say that we were going to be talking about your stance on bullying and everything. So I definitely want to make sure we cover that. Things going on in your personal life, what you have happening now, what your future plans are. Assuming everything's okay with the chat as far as what we cannot ask you. We will take questions from the audience. So please stay tuned. We'll get to everybody's questions for Athena. Maybe some questions for myself. Definitely questions for Aura, because he's a man of mystery. And the mask has finally been pulled off of him. He's taken the cowl off. I'm just, it's melting my cold, bitter heart to see this.
Dave Marks asked an interesting question.
Okay.
Which lanterns would everyone be?
Which lantern?
I'd be the blue lantern.
Wait, 224 Vic, I think. What lanterns would y'all be?
That's Vic. Yeah, Vic.
How dare you misname somebody? Yeah.
I have bad eyesight.
224 Vic and Dave Marks are both frequent viewers of the channel, and you've just disrespected both of them.
Sorry, Vic. What's up, man? Thanks for joining. I'd be the blue lantern, though.
I'd have to go with the original, Alan Scott.
Yeah.
But I don't read Green Lantern, so I'm just going off of, I'm a little biased.
I ain't even gonna lie. I'd be the Orange Lantern Larfleeze, and I would claim all the
freaking greedy jerk.
Yes,
greedy jerk.
I would. Absolutely, I would. 100%. I would be the greediest of them all. Yep. I'd be the most powerful of the Orange Lantern Corps because I would be the only one.
Like the movie version?
Wait, what?
You wouldn't want to be the movie version of Green Lantern?
I mean,
the
movie version doesn't want to be the movie version.
I gotta say, Ryan Reynolds took that whole thing in stride.
Oh, he totally did.
Because for any other actor, that would have been the end of their entire career. And now
he would make fun of himself because of it. I love it.
Well, I love that scene in Deadpool where he's like, "Please don't make the super suit green or animated."
Animated, yeah. CGI.
I was like, "You're not Deadpool yet. You can't be breaking the fourth wall, buddy."
They try so hard.
Well, actually, as far as your favorite, because Green Lantern, obviously, my favorite Green Lantern is still Hal Jordan. I mean, that guy is. I don't get me wrong. I like all of them. Guile Gardner's fun. Guile Gardner's a lot of fun. I'm saying Guile, Kyle Rayner, and Guy Gardner. I'm terrible. But
I have no idea because I don't read it. So
it's all good.
Sorry.
It's pretty good. I will say that. And then
I'm sure it is. I just
now. Before we jump into anything any further, before we actually started the stream, Athena was telling me some very interesting things about the early days of comic books and their ties to organized crime and the mafia.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta go into this stuff with me because I'm still blown away. How is the mafia involved in comic books? How are the bad guys the ones promoting the superheroes?
Well, they needed a way to like deal with their dirty money, and so they went into the paper business because paper is expensive. And so since they went into the paper business, that's, that kind of gave them the strong arm to get into the comic book or the printing publishing industry. So they they took over National Comics before they even really were able to take off, and that's how they funneled a lot of their money, was through funny books, as they were referred to. Um, and it's not just that. I mean, a lot of the artists that actually worked for them um, came into the industry for comics through other avenues, through the mob. As I had mentioned, my grandfather co-created Wildcat, and he co-created that with Erwin Hansen, who was an artist for the mob, but he did all of the playbills for the boxers. And so that's what he used to do as a teenager, is he would draw all the boxers for the fights and things like that. And so he was brought over to do comics once once the company started going. I know it's weird, right? You would think mob, like, how is that possible? But yeah, I mean, you got to think they had to find legitimate businesses to funnel all of their funny money.
They were money laundering through the comic book industry.
Yep. Through the paper industry, basically. But that runs into publication, and since comics were such a brand new concept, it was easy for them to take it over.
Well, Athena's just destroyed my childhood, so let's just move on. Now, one thing you did tell me was really interesting was the mob actually took over one of these companies, right?
Yes, they did. They took over National Comics before they became DC Comics. Major Williard, I think I'm saying that wrong, but he had several publications, and he was an artist, and he had a lot of different comics that he was actually producing himself. And so he kind of wanted to bring the industry into one publication, because it was like spread out. It was a little bit over here, a little bit over there. And a lot of what the earlier comics were compilations from like the Sunday paper and things like that. So it would be a lot of different storylines, a lot of different characters and things within the same book. And so he wanted to just have one character, one story, one book, and have multiple books featuring each character. He was kind of the visionary man for that industry to go that route, instead of having things like pulp books and things like that. So unfortunately, the mob came in and took the company from him before it could really take off. But luckily, before it got taken over, he signed Siegel and Schuster. They were working on other comics along with pitching the idea for Superman and things like that. So that's, Superman was really the first for that particular publication, and really kind of launched the career for National.
Well, I mean, Superman is great. I actually, I keep saying this to folks because I watch the movies and everything, and gosh, it's upsetting because they're kind of like pushing Superman aside in their whole movie universe.
Well, they had to because of the legalities with the family. If you notice, Superman's origin story changed a little bit.
Yeah.
And they had to do that because they were in litigation for so long with the Siegels and the Schusters. For them to be able to do anything, they had to somehow manipulate it so that they could put something out there without having to pay the families.
Well, it's like you were saying, it's a cutthroat business.
It is, and they own these characters, so they're going to try to monopolize on them as much as possible without sharing any of the profits. And I mean, I understand it's a corporation; they don't have to have morals, like that's just the name of the game. But it really sucks because, these people created these characters that are, bringing in billions of dollars for Warner Brothers DC, and they really want to keep it for themselves. I know the bottom line is what's important, but at the same time, without what these people created, you wouldn't have billions of dollars coming in off of these titles. So it's kind of a 22.
I mean, yeah, and I hear people say like all the time. We're going to talk about Batman here in a second, Chef. Don't worry. I hear all the time with Superman. They talk about how it's difficult to tell a good Superman story because he's very unrelatable as a character, and I sit there and I go, no, he's. The thing about Superman is, yeah, he is all but invincible, right?
Right.
But his story becomes much more personal because of that. Because you take I love the dichotomy between Superman and Lex Luthor, because you have one guy who's not human but is probably the most humane being on the planet, and his arch enemy is a normal human being who is inhumane in so many ways and completely immoral. The one thing that's always upset me about watching any Superman movie, even the classics, right, is they don't really touch on that relationship between the two characters very well. And yeah, I know in the original ones, I do like the original Lex Luthor a lot more than Mark Zuckerberg, the Mark Zuckerberg version.
Joker. That was a bad casting.
That was terrible.
The whole story behind that is that that's supposed to be his son. That's not really Lex Luthor. That's his son.
Wait, what?
Really?
That's what I've heard.
It was not established very well because I had no idea.
Something that was, this is my father, and that they really tried to play it hard. But if you look at the age of him and the age of Superman was way older than him. That made no sense considering in the comics they were close in age.
Yeah, they were. Okay, so well, this is just another reason for me to hate Zack Snyder and everything he ever did.
He just screwed everything up.
He did. He ruined these characters. Oh man.
He had a vision, and so you bring up a good point. He ruined these characters. Okay. Yes, there are some core elements to the characters, but we're not talking about real people. So my take, what I'd say to people is that yes, there are core things that people should stick to. And he did to a point. But they're fictional characters. It's his interpretation of these characters. It's not like he's writing a documentary about Abraham Lincoln.
Where he rewrites history about Abraham Lincoln.
This is completely fictional. Okay, you might not agree with where he went with the mythos, but that's what he wanted to do with it. That was his interpretation of the character and the storyline. And
they did hire him to do that, and I think they knew what they were getting when they hired him. So
right, and he did it with every single one. I mean, if you look at what he did with Aquaman, and then he got handed over to an amazing director who had to clean up after Snyder.
Oof. That's exactly what happened.
It's true.
It's known. That's exactly what he had to do. He had to clean up the mess that somebody else made and try to make something good out of it. And I think the only reason why that movie was truly successful was because of the visual art from that, not the story.
Hey, Parrot Head, thank you for joining the chat. No, so
that's my opinion.
The thing is, it's like what you said with Aquaman. Also with Wonder Woman, because at the time Zack Snyder was still kind of the head guy for them, right? He doesn't really go out of things until the collapse in Batman versus Superman, and it's right before Justice League where he's kind of like officially gets booted out.
Right.
But with Wonder Woman, he really wasn't the guy making the final decisions there. You had Patty Jenkins doing it, from what I understand.
Right.
And she, for the most part, is very true to who Wonder Woman is to most audiences that are a fan of hers. She didn't.
I mean, I think they could have casted a lot of those characters better.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I grew up with Linda Carter in the TV show, and she had stature. She had mass to her, and I mean, yeah, it was the 70s. That was the look. But I mean, Wonder Woman's a warrior. She can't be a twig. I'm sorry. Like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so that's more of an issue with casting Gal Gadot to be Wonder Woman, and
I mean, she's great. But I just don't see it.
There were better choices. There are still better choices.
Yeah.
But as far as the story that they went ahead and told with that character, they didn't go ahead and say, well, we want to go in a different direction with who Wonder Woman is.
They kind of stick to it with what it should have been as far as the true story of her and the backstory and everything. So, I mean, at least they got something right.
I mean,
I don't know about. Go ahead.
No, Aura, please give your opinion.
I'm just saying, I don't know how you guys just don't love that, the Joker Lex Luthor and the Lex Luthor Joker, because basically their roles were just like flipped to me. Joker acted like Lex acted like Joker. But other than that, don't let me hold this stuff up.
I guess.
Actually, you know what? He is right about Lex acting like Joker because he had that maniacal laughter and everything.
What, from Batman versus Superman? Yeah, he definitely was more of a psychopath character instead of being more of this refined mastermind kind of person. Instead,
like a cold, calculating businessman. He wasn't that. He was not that at all.
He's a businessman. He ran a corporation, so he had more logical thinking. He wasn't so half-hinged and I can see the analogy. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I can see that. I mean, he was definitely, walking that fine line between sanity and insanity. So,
and the thing is, for Superman and Lex Luthor and everything, it's Lex's thing with Superman from most of the comics I've read about in the earlier days. Lex hates Superman because he thinks that Superman being around devalues anything any human can ever do, including himself, who should be the greatest one out there. But in the movie, it was more like I just want to kill Superman for the sake of killing Superman. And
that plays on what Ara was saying, like walking that line of sanity. That's not really a logical or sane approach to dealing with your conflict.
You guys want to talk about sanity? Let's talk about how Batman was carrying around a brand and he used to heat it up and make it iron hot and just poke people with it. That's what the hell was that? He's just carrying around a brand. Just like I could see him with the lighter, like, and just like,
fucking hell.
Definitely different. And I remember
he should have did that in Justice League.
That during that dream.
God damn it, no.
Had a gun and like all this stuff. I mean, Batman originally had a gun.
He should have did that.
Actually, that is true. The no killing thing comes up much.
Pistol.
The no killing thing with Batman and his entire mythos, that does come in later. The original Batman carried a gun, and originally they were going to kill Joker off in his first appearance.
Oh, yeah. But
they were like, whoa. Yeah. Like, oh, he's actually pretty entertaining. Let's keep him around. That would have been the biggest mistake ever, killing the Joker off in his first appearance.
But I mean, what has happened with that character? I mean, who would have thought that the Joker was going to win an Oscar and a Golden Lion Award and all these other awards? I mean, and it's not, the thing is that when I came out of that movie, I went to the premiere and of course people were like, oh, so how was it? And I'm like, it's not a comic book movie and I can't really talk. I'm kind of speechless right now. I'm still trying to process what I just watched. I mean, like, it was heavy. It was a heavy film. And, I think it's pretty interesting that the two Oscars that they've won were both for the Joker characters. Heath got his, and now Joaquin got his for both portraying the Joker. I mean, who knew?
Leto didn't get his.
Leto didn't deserve it. Or
Chill.
actually,
Chill.
I gotta ask.
Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson didn't receive an Oscar for his portrayal of the character.
It's
And
true.
bring
Yeah,
it, you know. Okay, I liked the Joker in Suicide Squad. He was very modern. He was of a different generation. He played on the whole gangster psychosis, I can do whatever I want kind of mentality that's of now. You know what I mean? It's not like the old school gangster mentality of where, you know, you kind of pull the strings from behind, although you're a little crazy.
But that design was just tattooing damage on his forehead was.
I liked it. Sorry.
I liked the.
I didn't.
No, some people do.
didn't.
Joker plays. That's one of his favorite iterations of Joker. Actually, is the Leto version. But I would have liked it if the theory was, everyone thought it was, oh my god, Jason Todd.
Yeah. Everybody thought it was
I
Jason.
think it was
Todd.
Jason Todd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everyone thought it was Jason Todd because the Joker tortured him. And
Right.
That's why he has damage on his forehead.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
his teeth got knocked out. So that would explain the
actually
grills and
would-
stuff.
It would make sense. And again, they just don't go into that character enough in that movie, or at least I know that there's an extended version of that movie. I haven't seen it, but I've been told that they cut out a lot of the Joker story from that movie, which is too bad because, I mean, that
may have saved the character, because what you saw in Suicide Squad just wasn't enough to really define anything. And there's for me, there's a lot of things I just do not like. Maybe if it got fleshed out more, maybe if we got to see more of who he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I think if they had made that version of Joker, because he's much younger, right? Because
that's what I mean. He's a modern version of the character. I mean, yes, Heath Ledger was also a modern version of the character, but that was sticking a little closer to what the comic is, as far as that, you know.
Oh, hey, J-Man, thank you for joining.
Killer, serial killer mentality, and kind of just taking charge of everything and everyone. I mean, I think it's kind of hard to compare them, because, I mean, if you go back to what Jack Nicholson did, I mean, he was the suave gangster that had this horrible accident and then was deformed, and he played on that kind of, you know,
true
to what he became.
Okay, well, I want to get into I want to get more into Batman now. But since we're talking, but to wrap up our talk about Joker, who is your favorite iteration of Joker? Which actor did it best?
Sticking true to the comics, I would have to say Heath Ledger.
Fair. Aura?
I don't know if you like my answer.
No, go ahead.
It's the animated one, Mark Hamill.
Yeah, with Mark Hamill. He's really.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I love Mark Hamill's voice for Joker. It's so good.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't see him actually playing the character, so that's
I don't think he was physically in the shape to play the character at that point in his life.
Just physically in shape.
I don't want to be a dick.
No, they brought him into Gotham. What was his character in Gotham? He played some kind of Joker.
No, I don't think they brought him into Gotham. They brought him into Flash, and he played. He played the trickster, who essentially he did act just like his version of Joker from Batman the Animated Series, and it was great because he was the new trickster's dad who had terrorized the city previously.
Okay.
And I actually thought that, you know, if we had seen him ever do a live action Joker, it would have been just like he was doing the trickster. And he did the same. I don't know if you could say it was like the exact same voice, but very, very, very similar.
Oh, I mean, there's similar characters in a way. I mean, Trickster, Joker, it's all the same kind of theme going on there.
Yeah.
If we pick live action, it'd probably be Nicholson. Nicholson scared me when I was a kid. I watched that when I was a kid.
I would.
Dude.
Yeah.
If I, you know, honestly, I'm going to say out of all the live action versions, it would be a tie between Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix, and I don't want to see him jumping on a bandwagon by Joaquin Phoenix because I just like that more insane version of Joker, right? The one where he's like he's sitting down at the studio, right? And he's just got the gun, and for a second it seems like he's going to shoot himself, and then he just points the gun at the radio and just pops him. And then he just like looks at everybody freaking out, and he just brushes off his suit and he sits back down in the chair. I'm like, that's Joker.
No, I mean that film really. I mean, there's nothing like it out there.
No, it wasn't a comic book film like you said, though. It was not a comic book film like you said.
No, it's not. And I read articles about. We'll stop talking about this in a minute, but I read because I was blown away by the film. I was like, "Holy, what? Like that was awesome! Like they actually pulled it off." And the fans were so upset about it that they actually walked out of the movie because it wasn't a comic book movie. And I'm like, really? You're that closed-minded to an interpretation of a character that you can't see what they're trying to actually tell you using this character? I mean, really, the whole statement was we got serious problems with mental illness and how we deal with the mentally ill in this country. That was the gist of the whole film. As you watch this man slip more and more into psychosis and how he's treated by society instead of getting the actual help that he needed.
My thing on that film that was tripping me out were the people that were upset with the Joker for being too violent, and I was like, what movie were you watching? It's actually pretty tame.
I was like, do you watch Deadpool?
Yeah, no, you don't get it. Deadpool was joking when he shoots 3 people in the head with 1 bullet.
Okay, did you watch Rambo? Did you watch any war movie? I mean, seriously.
Did you watch Home Alone? That was violent.
Yeah, I think Home Alone had more violence.
John Wick? How many people did he kill in his movie? In one
collectively, between all 3 John Wick's movies, that they should ban. They should ban Keanu Reeves from ever setting foot in Hollywood with his kill count. Oh man. Okay.
We're scared about what had happened when The Dark Knight came out with the shooting and all of that stuff. I think that's really what that was all about, because of course it only takes one crazy person to ruin the rest. So, and I think that's really where that came from.
Well, I mean, I won't say everybody who's commenting on it is someone that wants to focus on the negatives, but you can definitely feel like some of the people writing articles about the Joker movie, they were trying to stir up,
Of course. That's what sells. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, obviously writing an article saying like the Joker movie is going to get people killed is, it was still a damn good movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, going back to Batman.
Yes.
So this is what I've learned about the creation of Batman and your grandfather's involvement in it, and you tell me if I have anything wrong or if you can give us more details about it.
Sure.
Bob Kane decided he wanted to create a new character, and he came up with the name of the Batman. And that character looks nothing like the interpretation of Batman that everyone's familiar with. He had no cowl. He didn't actually have a cape. He had like wings that were attached to his wrists,
like glider,
Yeah, and he wore a red jumpsuit, which is, and he was bright red.
Orange and red. My favorite color.
And it was he was a blonde, which is unique, very unique. Now, the thing is, I could be wrong here. After designing that character, Bob Kane realized that it was garbage, and he brought
I don't know if you would think that it was garbage, but he definitely knew that it needed some help.
I'm being mean here.
I know.
Yes, he
Maniac. You wouldn't think anything he did was garbage. Okay.
Well, he had some sense to understand that what he had on paper there was just not going to be a hit for what he was thinking.
Well, I think more along the lines he didn't know that the character didn't look right for what he was naming it for. I think he more just brought it to my grandfather, who was writing other comics for him at the time. Was like, here's my character. We need to write a story for him, and and I'm gonna pitch it, and we'll go from there. And I think that.
So then he brought your grandfather in just to write the story. That your grandfather was the one that looked at the character design and said, we need to work on this first.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's more along the lines of what it was, because they had been working on other comics together. Bob Kane was already established and had already been working for National Comics before he came up with Batman. So it was building off of the popularity of Superman, and they wanted another character that could be as popular and bring them more money, of course. So I think that once he brought it to Bill, and Bill, being such a visual writer, really knew how to play on the word Batman, using a bat instead of this bright red suit and things like that. I think he really knew that the character needed to fit his name, basically, and be more of the night bat-looking, someone that can blend into the dark. Bright red stands out. It's like so painting a target on yourself.
So your grandfather decided that what they need to do is make the costume darker, which was a big thing. He had a domino mask, which is the type of mask that Robin tends to wear.
Right, that's what he had, and then Bill changed it to the cowl with the ears.
Which is, the cape and the cowl, right? That is one thing that's iconic for Batman. Yeah. And he took the wings and decided instead to make it this long cape with the with that kind of design to make it look like wings. When
scallops. It's called scallops.
Oh, thank you. He was the one who actually comes up with the most iconic things about Batman, which are his cape and cowl and that darker color scheme to his. See, I hate calling them costumes. Uniform. Yeah. So from there, Bob Kane takes the design from your grandfather, takes that over to DC, sells the character to DC, and I don't know if this is ever confirmed, but some say that Bob Kane specifically signed the contract that stated he was to get sole credit for Batman in any publication of Batman as its creator.
That's what they say. There's so many different stories. There are stories that when he did this, he was underage and that he wasn't 18 yet and he was still 17. There's, stories that he didn't even really have a contract and it was more of a handshake. There's, because they've never produced any document ever.
This is from the 30s too, so we're talking almost 90 years ago.
Yeah, and I've had friends tell me that worked in the industry that when they worked at DC, that one of their jobs was to clean out their closet. He never found any kind of document that says anything to what was claimed. It could be truth, it could be a non-truth, it could be something that was said to cover everyone's butt. Who knows? We weren't there in 1939 when they made.
Yeah, and we're talking about a very different time. We're talking about we haven't really gotten into the Second World War yet.
It's all pre that. And I mean, also the other thing is like, Bob Kane came from wealth. His parents were wealthy people. His dad was an attorney. He understood contract law and things like that. So he had other influences around him that were able to help him kind of solidify his take on Batman and what his, his sole ownership was going to be.
And so for the most part, he is the one who takes the design that your grandfather really comes up with, right?
Yes.
He's the one who makes all of these iconic imageries that are still used today.
Yes.
He takes that to DC, sells the character to DC, then he goes back to your grandfather and says, okay, because like you said, they've already been working together on other comics.
Right.
Bob Kane is going to draw the characters, and your grandfather, he's going to write all the stories.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not just Batman. From there, it's, the original storylines for Batman come from your grandfather. A lot of the characters, the villains, his rogues gallery, that comes from your grandfather. It doesn't really come from Bob Kane. Bob Kane was just the one
drawing the pictures.
He was the artist.
That was only for a short amount of time that Bob Kane actually did that. He had a lot of different ghost artists that worked for him. The earliest was Jerry Robinson, who did a lot of the work. And, you'll see interviews with Jerry where he said he had to do a lot of correction of the drawings that were submitted by Bob Kane. They were not, they really weren't any good, unfortunately. So, I mean,
I've heard a lot. Yeah. So actually, prior to you coming on the channel, I went ahead and looked at a lot of these documentaries talking about what Bob Kane actually did, and for the most part, a lot of people, they don't say it outright, but a lot of people kind of draw the conclusion that he was kind of a phony as far as his contributions to a lot of the stuff that he claims to have done. Like, right. There's a lot of other people.
The way that I look at it, because I don't want to badmouth what he did. If he did not go to anyone with his original concept, we wouldn't have Batman. So we can't take that away from him. What his real ability was to find amazing talent and bring them together so that they can create these awesome stories that have lived 80 plus years now. So I think that's really what his talent was to find this raw talent of the time to create these stories and, make sure that they were shared with the world, basically.
And
what he did it wasn't cool, but that's really what he did.
Well, and to be frank with you, like you just said, there is something to be said about being able to recognize talent in other individuals and bring that to the forefront, draw out the best in people. But the way he goes about.
Okay, I will say it. He was a scumbag, and he took advantage of everyone that he could take advantage of, and he had a bad reputation in the industry. He did that to himself, though, and so that's on him. He did that to himself, and this whole I did Batman myself, even though people knew the truth of what my grandfather did and what Jerry Robinson did for the and these other key players, he lived it. He lived his own lie, and he had to keep that lie going for as long as possible so he didn't lose face. And that's pretty much the way it went for him. Unfortunately, he chose to take that route. He could have changed it at any point. At any point, he could have publicly come out and say, you know what? It wasn't just me. I had a great team of people with me, and this is what we all did. And these are the people that should be recognized. But he didn't want to do that. He loved being famous. He was the first truly famous comic book artist that was out there, and he loved every second of it. And that's what he wanted.
And unfortunately, it'd be one thing if, because as I understand it, it wasn't until the 60s. We're talking 30 years roughly after the creation of the character, 30 years of, after they started working together, of all the stories that they had done together, of all the writing, of all the characters that were created. It's in the 60s when your grandfather, I don't know if it was him specifically or if it was another individual, who basically came out and stated that, Bill Finger is the guy who brought you Batman as you know him today.
Right. There was a gentleman named Jerry. He wrote a fan magazine at the time, and he kind of figured out the secret behind the creation, because it takes a lot to produce a comic. You have to draw it. You have to first you have to write it, then you have to draw it, then you have to ink it, then you have to color it, then you have to do all the lettering work. Like, there's a lot of steps to doing it, and they didn't have computers then that could quickly type text and all that stuff. It was all done by hand. So they figured that, it could have just been this one person doing this. Like, there had to be other people. And so he was the one that really found out the true secret behind who was influencing this character. And, he wrote a public newsletter and sent it out to people because they didn't have the internet in the 60s. And, stating the true story, finger in every plot. And, Bob Kane responded to that and outright called my grandfather a liar and said he didn't do this.
Well, it was worse than that. He said that he himself created the concept of Batman, created all of these stories himself. Yeah. And other people in the industry knew Bob Kane was a liar because it was kind of an open secret among people among the old school industry professionals at the time that Bob Kane worked with other people. Other people were writing these stories. It wasn't all Bob Kane, but it wasn't until somebody tried to give credit to somebody else that Bob Kane just went full on scorched earth on them. He
did, but again, he had been living the lie for so long at that point that he, again, needed to save face and be like, no, this person's not telling you the truth. I'm the one that did it, because that's what people knew for 30 some odd years. That was the truth that they were fed.
Yeah. And it goes, to my understanding, it got really nasty the way that he went about it.
He was not a nice person.
Yeah, that's...
He was his own villain. I mean, even his gravestone is like complete BS. If you've ever, in the documentary, they read it. He uses the phrase "the Dark Knight" on his gravestone, which my grandfather is known to have given the nickname to Batman. Like, come on, really? Like,
I think I have an image of that from Google. Let me see if I can put that on the screen for everybody, just so they can see what we're talking about.
Seriously, and that he has like the same characteristics as Batman, Bruce Wayne. They're all one and the same. Like, come on, you are a villain.
I have it pulled up. We're gonna read through it, and then I want to kind of discuss how this finally does get brought out and how they finally do get credit, because there was an individual. I know your father worked on it. There's another individual who I'm just terrible with names. Nobleman.
Yes, Mark Tyler Nobleman is his name.
Okay. I'm awful, guys. I fully admit it.
I have to.
Let's read this. Robert Kane, aka Bob Kane, October 24th, 1915 to November 3rd, 1998. God bestowed a dream upon Bob Kane. Blessed with divine inspiration and a rich imagination, Bob created a legacy known as Batman. Introduced in May 1939, comic book Batman grew from a tiny acorn into an American icon. Gosh, this guy's full of himself.
Yeah,
his gravestone is full. a quote unquote hand of God creation. Batman has world personality, the internal struggle, at good versus evil, with God's laws prevailing in the end. Bob Kane, Bruce Wayne, Batman, they are one and the same. Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh.
Bob infused his dual identity character with his own attributes: goodness, kindness, compassion, sensitivity, generosity, intelligence, integrity, courage, purity of spirit, a love of all mankind.
Except for his best friend, Bill Finger.
I'm going to just press X'd out all over that. Batman is known as the Dark Knight, but through his deeds, he walks in the light of a higher power, as did his creator, Bob Kane. Oh, boy. And then, the traditional stuff: beloved husband, father, grandfather, and loving memory, yada, yada, yada.
Oh, that's at the very end in the smallest print possible.
Right?
Like, I was like, do you think he prepared that for his death? Or is that some fanfic that they pulled off of Wikipedia?
Ooh. Damn, Maura.
I mean, too far? Like,
I don't think you're going far enough. I was going to say, I don't think God is watching out over this individual right now.
I know.
I'm a mean person, and this guy is worse than me.
Bob Kane's in heaven. He's like, thank you for Batman. I love you so much, Bob Kane. That's God to Bob Kane. Oh, my God.
Oh, God. I mean, it's look, oh, man, this is bad. This is real bad.
It's awfully deep.
I'm taking that off the stream.
It's painful, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, boy.
It's the most egotistical thing I've ever heard, like a dead man say,
Where I'm actually at the grave site of him, and I had never even known about this before I got there. Okay, I'm in LA for the Green Lantern premiere, and the documentarians came out and they're like, "Oh, we want to film you, for this," and I'm like, "Okay, great." He's like, "Listen, we're gonna go to Bob Kane's grave site," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Yeah, I think you should see this," and I'm like, "Okay." I had no idea.
Did they get your raw reaction? Like, yes. Oh my God.
They see me, and I'm like, "Yeah, you'll get yours someday."
God damn.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like a Wikipedia fanfic. He is the greatest. He is the best one. He's my favorite. Like,
fucking hell.
He's dead. Come on.
I don't. Here's the thing: you're not supposed to be Guild of the Dead, but man, is this person just?
He's funnier than he's ever been. Like, what are you talking about? It's the best tale I've ever read.
Well, I highlight this comment from Dave.
Look at Athena's face.
Modern Batman has a tendency to lie to the people around him. Sounds like the more accurate representation of Bob.
See, like you see. Look at her face.
Well, I mean, Batman has to lie. He has to. He can't tell who he really is. Then they'll go and blow up his house again.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So Sogeo1 says that they should really take his gravestone and scratch out Bob Kane's name on it and put Bill Finger.
I've heard that before, but I mean, really, we don't need to go that far.
Yeah. As a joke, I get it. I get the mentality behind that because but like I don't want to laugh at a gravestone, but my goodness,
it's too late.
It's way too late for that. Holy shit.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So how did you get in touch with they just approached you at the screening for Green Lantern, or?
No, okay. So how did I get pulled into this? Okay, so like you had mentioned, my father tried to get credit for Bill, his father, after Bill passed away, and so he did not have any success, as we know. And then again in '89, before the movie came out, him and Bill's second wife also tried to get him some kind of mention in the credits for that movie, but again, no, not happening. So, but I mean, Bob was still alive at that time also. And so when my father passed away in '92, I was young. I hadn't even turned 16 yet. So I kind of didn't know what to do. And I had always been kind of told, like, you don't want to pursue this. It's never going to happen. It's going to cost tons of money. It's going to take forever. It's, all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. And so I kind of didn't do anything Batman related for 15 years. I didn't even really talk about Batman for 15 years. And then in 2007, Mark Tyler Nobleman was doing his research for his book about Bill, and got in touch with me on Facebook. No, not Facebook, on MySpace. We had MySpace. And, you know, I was kind of blown away that this person was seriously, because I mean, to be honest, I had a few people in that 15-year period that would send me a message and be like, hey, are you really, you know, are you related to Bill Finger? Like, and I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, you know, whatever. They had to say whatever they had to say, but nothing ever came of it. Mark was serious. He's like, listen, I have done extensive research. I want to know what you know about your grandfather. And unfortunately, I never met my grandfather. He passed away before I was even a concept. So, you know, I was like, I don't have much to say, but I'll go on this journey with you, basically, is what happens. And so, you know, he told me a lot about my family history, and you know, I shared some photographs that I had and what I knew from what I could remember of what my dad told me. Again, I mean, it's been a long time since my dad had passed away, so I didn't remember a lot of the stuff that he told me. So that's how I got pulled into it. And from there, you know, Mark really had this mission to see Bill's name get attached to Batman. As you know, as being in the family, that's what we all wanted, is to have Bill's recognition and credit given to him. And I wasn't really willing to pursue it, actually. He had to convince me to pursue Bill getting credit. And it took some time. It took a lot of tears. It took a lot of, you know, fighting and wrestling with myself about what to do and if I should really go down this path, and how do I go down this path. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an artist and a math teacher and a mom. I mean, just at the time I was still in college, you know, pursuing my career, and it was a lot. It was a lot of emotional stuff. It was a lot of legal stuff. It was, you know, I'm not even part of this culture, so I don't really even know who knows what, because I had been under the impression that really nobody knew about my grandfather and what he did. I mean, I just was at a loss. So once I started coming out and talking to people and meeting people who knew my grandfather, and when I went out to DC for the first time and met Paul Levitz, and he was like, you know, your grandfather was my mentor, and like we have a lot of respect for him, and a lot of people working in the industry at that time in 2008 were, you know, we all know what your grandfather did, and you know, he deserves credit. And, you know, it was a known secret that I didn't know that people knew. If that makes any sense. So
makes sense.
You know, it kind of went from there, and then I was able to kind of feel out what I need to do with the actual pursuing of getting him credit. And it wasn't really until 2012 that I was kind of pushed into, all right, now I really need to do something, because they wanted me to terminate my rights when the movie came out, The Dark Knight Rises, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not happening. So luckily, you know, my sister is a lawyer and knew about copyright law and was able to get us in touch with the right people and start pursuing the case and getting things resolved. So, I mean, I had a lot of things going for me, even though it was a case that I was told that was never going to be winnable, ever. So, I mean, I played on the momentum of the 75th anniversary. I played on, you know, coming into the convention scene that year and doing interviews and really seeing what the culture was about, because I wasn't part of that culture. Again, I was, you know, I went back to college when I was 28. I had my son when I was 26. I was doing my own thing. I was not part of, I didn't even read comics. This wasn't my thing, you know? So I was kind of like fumbling around learning about all this. But the fans are awesome. They, I was real upfront about it. They want to talk Batman. I'm like, you're gonna have to educate me because I'm so uneducated about the comics and all the different stories and all the different this and that. And there's just too much. Like, there's way too much. And they weren't mean about it. They didn't shun me because of that. They were like, oh, okay, well, you need to check out X, Y, and Z. And then after you're done with that, you need to go over here and look at this person and read these stories. And I'm like, okay. So, I mean, like, it just, a lot of things worked in my favor. Plus, the industry had changed. I mean, Jack Kirby had won his case, and that was huge because he was another brilliant artist that was shafted out of his credit. And once he won his case, that kind of helped Bill be able to resolve the issue of getting credit and things like that. So, again, a lot of things fell into place for Bill to get his byline and for us to resolve this issue. Did I answer your question?
No, I mean, it's to be honest with you, it's sad in the sense that your grandfather was a part of. We all love Batman, right? We all
recognizable comic figure. I mean, he's more recognizable than Mickey Mouse.
Well, I mean, it's like you were saying earlier. They wanted to create a character that would have the same sort of takeoff that Superman had, but Batman has outshone Superman in every single way, shape, and form. He's incredibly interesting. It's sad that it went on for this amount of time. It's sad that it doesn't happen until after your grandfather has passed away, after your father has passed away. But I think that, I don't want to say anything that's inappropriate. I just think that for both of them, assume I don't know what anyone's faith is or anything like that. But,
I think that they know that we were able to get Bill. There are energies out there. I believe in energy, and I know that they somehow know that he is being recognized and he's being celebrated. And I mean, it sucks that my dad passed away at such a young age. He really should be here with me, being able to, really enjoy the fact that his father is celebrated, like I said, and recognized and getting all of the credit that he was long overdue. And it makes me sad, but at the same time, it's a point of celebration for me.
So it took literally decades, but moving forward, that legacy of Bill Finger is never going to be tarnished as far as what he's done. As far as your family's contribution to one of, like you said, the most recognizable superheroes on the planet, and it really is great now that you can't go back, you can't change the past. That's all said and done. But as of right now, any media that involves Batman is going to have your grandfather credited for the work that he put into that character, for making him such an iconic presence. And you look at the designs of Batman, and like I was saying earlier, that the cape and the cowl are those are Batman. Like, you can't have Batman without the cape and the cowl, right? And I get it. Batman Beyond fans don't get at me.
Yes, that was all suggested by Bill. I mean, that all of that came from him. So and the more people learn about it, because I mean, people still don't know the true history. I come across people all the time that they're like, "Who's Bill Finger?" Like, Bill Finger had nothing to do with that. I'm like, no.
Well, I mean, and now when people don't know, you can just pull it up and show people, no, this is
right, which
this is
is way different than when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to be bullied because I would mention what my grandfather did. Now, since my grandfather didn't have any credit, and so he had no money, and so like there was no visible, tangible thing for kids to see what Bill did. So, I was called a liar, and they didn't believe me. I didn't have actual proof of what he did and things like that. And kids are cruel. So, and that's one of the reasons why I stopped talking about the Batman story and my grandfather and things like that. It's just it was painful.
So actually, Toy Bounty Hunters had a very nice comment here. So let me just read it. I think the best way to honor them both is to continue doing what you've been doing, Athena.
Aw, I hope I do justice for them. I really have embraced my new role. I kind of at times have called myself Batman because I have two worlds that I really, especially when I was working at the college, like my college students, that's my other passion besides my artwork is teaching, and that's one whole completely different world. And then I have this very public world that I'm like a celebrity. In quotations, because I still don't consider myself a celebrity, even though I do represent something very important in the industry, and I try to live up to my given title, the heiress to the Dark Knight. So I mean, I try to do the best I can to honor Bill, and not just Bill. I mean, nobody from that era between Bob and Bill are coming out and celebrating or taking part in the culture other than me. And I kind of was thrown into it, and I embraced it because I knew how important it was. So I kind of feel like I represent that golden age of Batman. So it's not just my grandfather. I think it's really just the whole history of Batman and how it came about, and the true history of how it became what he became. And I really try to do, honor that and be respectful.
No, and now you have the documentary to throw at people too, Batman and Bill,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Well, my son had this
Cool.
similar problem before the book came out. This book came out in 2012, and the documentary didn't come out until 2017. So when he was in grade school, he'd be like, yeah, my great-grandfather did this amazing thing. And this was, he's in elementary school. They're not going to Google it at that point. They're still a little too young for that. And kids would be like, yeah, you're so full of it. And then the book came out, and we got a copy of the book, and he brought it to school. And he's like, look, that's my dog, and that's my mom.
Moving forward, there's no question, right? And anytime anyone in your family wants to say, my great grandfather, my great great grandfather, my family, they can not only say that, but like you said, you had to deal with bullying because you didn't have the accreditation when you were a kid, but it exists now.
Toy Bounty Hunter, John. Yes, we did discuss Mark Tyler Nobleman. We did. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's right there. It's in front of the screen. Good job. Good job.
I'm paying attention. Don't worry, I got this today.
All
right, I trust you. But yes, we did.
So he's asking specifically what it was like for me. It was painful.
Yeah.
It was. I was intrigued, but it brought up a lot of emotional pain. I mean, like I said, my father passed away when I was 15.
Yeah.
He died from HIV/AIDS. It was really rough. It brought up a lot of pain because there was a whole other side to that whole thing. I was completely not included when my father passed away, and I wasn't included when his ashes were spread. And there was just a lot of emotional pain there. So it was really a mixed bag. When he got in touch with me, I was like, wow, somebody's really taking this seriously, but also I have to deal with all this baggage that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot to overcome, but I mean, I kind of chuckle about it now because I've come to terms with it. So, and, it was really nice to see that somebody was truly passionate about Bill getting his credit, and he really put in the long fight, like a lot of us did. So,
I mean, I'm terrible because I keep forgetting his name, so I'm really glad the Toy Bounty Hunters put it in writing so I can look at it. No, but it's like you were saying, and like a lot of people in the chat are commenting right now. It was a long fight, and it was obviously a painful fight for your family. but it's a fight that you won, right?
And that's the important thing. We did the impossible.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, like you were saying, people told you it's impossible. A lot of people have that mentality. It's like, why do this? Why go on and take up that fight? It's never going to work. They have all this money, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, at the end of the day, you got to do what's right, and good things happen to those who wait, right? And for your family.
And like I said earlier, the timing really played a huge role in being able to get this resolved. I mean, like I said, the industry had changed. It wasn't the old timers running the companies anymore. It was the fanboys and the fangirls running the company, and they all knew what the real story was. And so they wanted to figure out a way to make this happen. And so, you know, it came down to language. It came down to, you know, how can we make this happen? And we came to the point where we could agree with the language, and now, you know, forever in stone, his name is attached, and that's, you know, that was the important thing. And I say it in the documentary. We changed history, and that was important. That people got the true history of this character and where he came from.
Now, you mentioned it earlier. You dealt with bullying as a kid. I really want to keep you on here when we bring up Gotham High. So we've saved that for last. We saved the best for last here. But this is really important to having you on here. You dealt with a lot of bullying. I think it's something you're really passionate about, is standing up to. I want you to phrase it, because I don't want to put words in your mouth here. So I apologize.
Well, sure. I've had to stand up to bullies pretty much my whole life. I was bullied in grade school. I was bullied in high school. I was bullied as an adult. I was bullied as a professor. I was bullied while I was trying to take on this huge role of fighting DC Warner Brothers. I mean, unfortunately, it's gotten better now, but it's still something that I have to deal with. And people around me have had to deal with it. I've had my current boyfriend. He gets bullied for something that didn't happen supposedly 10 years ago. And he's still getting attacked by it. And just by me being associated with him, I've gotten some of it. But I'm not one to keep my mouth shut. I'm sorry. Like, I'm done being quiet. If you're going to attack someone, I'm going to say something. And if you're going to bring my name into it, best believe I'm going to say something. I'm going to call you out on all kinds of bullshit, and you're going to have to eat your own, basically.
Well, I mean, AG and we actually met because we were... Yeah, when we first started talking together, we were talking about the Vic Mignogna case, right? And he was,
sweetheart.
Yeah, no, he is. He is. From everything I've seen about him, I got to meet him once. Getting to see how he acts without the cameras on him too. He doesn't change. He's the same individual.
He's a genuine person. He really is.
But the thing is, like I know that your boyfriend, he was accused by somebody, and people just run off of the accusation. They don't care that there's no actual case. They don't care that there's no type of conviction. They don't care about any of that. It's just the accusation is enough to tear people down, and we saw that happen with Vic, and it got really nasty with Vic.
It's so nasty. He got attacked today. He was doing a virtual con where he was talking about fitness for conventions and cosplay. He's a cosplayer, and someone got on there and started calling him a rapist and that he's full of shit and he doesn't know what he's talking about, and how dare you have him on the show. And I mean, really, this is something that allegedly happened 10 years ago that didn't even happen. I personally had Rick checked out before I got involved with him. I had won my case, and I had to be a little more cautious about the people who were around me. I made a couple mistakes, as you do. And so when it came to hearing his story, when I first hanging out with him, I had him checked out. I was like, well, is there any validity to what these people are saying about him? Because this is not what I'm getting from him. And, I had him checked out. There's no truth. Plus, not only did I have him checked out, he has been so transparent with me with conversations that he's had with people through text messages, through other means of communication and things like that. There's no truth to what these people are saying. They don't know the truth. They don't know the true story. They're going off of lies by these women that he was involved with, who were cheaters when they came in and cheaters when they left. And so instead of owning their own, they decided to tear someone else down, kind of like Bob Kane, to save face and come out smelling roses. And that doesn't fly with me, especially when people start bringing my name into the mix and saying, she's a victim and how dare he do this to her, and he's just using her for her money. And I had to beat him over the head and be like, I'm trying to date you, freaking moron! Like, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think it's also important to preface,
that literally said, "Oh, well, she's a victim. You need to save her." And I'm like, "Oh no. I'm not a victim.
Yeah.
I don't play the victim role. I don't deal with bullshit like that. I'm sorry, I just don't."
Yeah.
And I actually called an MC out about that. He's kind of well known in the convention scene. He does a lot of big MC work for some of the bigger conventions, and I called him out on it. I literally, and I usually don't do this, but I was not having it. Instead of coming to me and talking to me directly, he felt the need to go behind my back and have this conversation with people who don't know me, who don't know Rick, have no idea what the context of our relationship is or what his past relationships are. And I blasted him publicly.
Yeah.
And there was backlash for him, not for me, for him, where he actually lost work because he fed into this bullcrap that people are spreading about Rick. I mean, there's nothing true about these allegations. Nothing. If there was any truth, they would have filed some kind of charges against him, and there would be some kind of legal case against him, but nothing.
I mean, instead, what it turns into, and we all saw this go very public with, like I was saying, like me and Aura saw too. People are not willing to give others the benefit of the doubt. They're not willing to do innocent until proven guilty. They just, I mean, they yeah. Well, the accusation is so damning, right? Because that's all you need to do. You just need to make the accusation, and people are, I don't want to say like programmed, but for the most part, they just assume that the person saying it is telling the truth, and they don't look into it. Like you said, you checked into it yourself because of the situation you were in. You looked into the individual, but that's, I mean,
people are going to do that. They're going to believe what they want to believe, and if they believe that they're going to follow this slander, then that's what they're going to do. But it's not the truth. Again, I've seen the conversations. I've been informed not just by Rick, but other people in the cosplay world about these two particular women. And they're not anyone with a good character. In fact, they are liars and cheaters, and they will continue to be liars and cheaters, because once a cheater, always a cheater, and that's exactly what happened. And instead of owning up to their part, they just decided to take someone else down. And it's sad.
I think.
Well, what's up, AJ?
I think it's also kind of important to like preface that I believe he made a statement or he addressed the matter. I think it was an apology or something of some sort.
So I've heard the recording. I've read the transcript. There's nothing. There's no admission of anything other than a misunderstanding. And misunderstanding does not warrant rape or assault. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a misunderstanding in a conversation. I've seen all of the text messages that led up to that voicemail. And just so you know, these two people, Rick and this woman who is alleging that he assaulted her, were buddy-buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, they
And
were buddy-buddy. If you read the text messages, you know what I'm talking about. They were friends.
yeah.
They were,
Yes.
it wasn't just one occurrence. They, they ran in the same circles. And, for whatever reason, she decided to side with his ex-wife and turn on him and, started spreading this lie that he assaulted her. And did nothing of the such.
Exactly. And I think it's important to touch on, just because like the statement was made doesn't mean, because as we said, he's not convicted of anything, he wasn't charged with anything.
Nope.
So just to put it as an example, Vic also made a public apology at a con. He's sorry if he made anyone feel uncomfortable, correct? Am I right, Crow?
Yeah, no, that and I know exactly where you're going with it. He made that statement. I'm sorry if anyone was offended by anything I've done. It was a general apology because things were heating up. There was a ton of misinformation out there, and people immediately latched onto that. And to this day, they still say, "Well, he admitted to it. He admitted to doing it."
No,
it's not. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Like you said, it was a blanket apology for making anyone feel uncomfortable. The thing that really pisses me off is that some of these women that will get onto these feeds once they start ramping, getting all flurried and start firing all this crap, is that some of these women have never even been in the same state with Rick. Yeah. But they will claim that, oh, he made me feel uncomfortable. Like, how can he make you feel uncomfortable if you're not even in the same state? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but one of the things that came out about Vic Mignogna, it's a very serious accusation, actually. This girl was in her bed and she was sleeping, and Vic Mignogna appeared to her in her dreams and assaulted her. There you go.
It's not made up. That's a real thing.
We're not making this shit.
They tried to. I think they wanted to try and get that like municipal in court. If I believe, I don't know. It was insane.
Yeah, they did.
A dream.
No, yeah. Vic assaulted. Vic has the capability and the power to assault people in their dreams.
Yes. So just before we go off the topic, or if we even want to go on it again, it's important again. He was not convicted of anything.
No, not convicted.
Not charged.
Charges, not even informal charges. This is all public slander. Yep. Rick has been fighting this silently for years, for almost a decade. And I'm not the only one. His girlfriend before me tried to, shame some of these people in the cosplay world for what they've been doing. But, I have had to work with Rick on this side to be like, listen, enough's enough. Stop putting energy towards these people. You need to let it go. I have brought you into my circle, which kind of, even though these people are stupid and don't realize who I am, I've brought you up a level that they will never be at because of my association with the Batman and what my grandfather did and just my role in the culture now. You're at a different level. These people will not be going to San Diego Comic-Con for free. These people will not be going to all these conventions as a guest, sitting with me, doing panels and things like that. They're not doing squat with their lives. And not only that, you are outside of that world. You're an amazing person. You got your degree and you're doing occupational therapy now. You're helping kids with autism. You're overcoming, the death of your son that, has devastated you for a very long time. There's so much going on there that you need to let this part go and then let's
focus on the positives, because if it's been going on for nearly 10 years,
that's just keep bringing you back into this negative cycle and just don't let it get, we'll deal with it. I'll deal with it. And I have. And I've had women say, oh, well, you're just, you're a victim. I had someone actually tell me that I was being gaslit. And I'm like, you don't even know what the meaning of being gaslit is. You're a freaking moron. Go back to school and get educated, please. Because you're using a term that you don't even know what it is. Okay? Like, seriously. You've never met the man. You've never been in a convention with this man. Like, I don't even want to hear it. You're so full of it. So, I mean, and I'm a pit bull. I'll go right for it. I don't care.
I mean, it's like you said, you're used to being bullied, and you see someone else being bullied, and in a terrible way. I mean, yeah. Well, this goes several levels deeper, but at the same time, like, it's the same thing. People like to tear other people down and build themselves up. So I've heard,
and that's all it is. A lot of these people are just so broken on the inside for whatever reason that they feel that they have to do this to make themselves feel better or to be part of this in crowd or whatever bullshit reason that they give to.
Well, it's like you say, like, I was this victim of everything, and they want people to surround them, and they build up their social media profile off of it. I've even heard stories that have come out of certain conventions where you have cosplayers who will start these relationships with people, and then the next morning say, "Hey, if you don't give me X, I will accuse you of doing Y," and it's. I mean, you know, certain people are really nasty, and it's
they are. They're completely nasty. I'm really glad that I'm not in the cosplay culture.
I was about to say, I was like, that community.
It is bad. It is really bad. Now I
got jumbled up. Go ahead.
It's okay. I was gonna say, you're right. If you want to move past it, you got to be able to just move past it, because if it's been going on for a decade, they don't care that nothing's ever been brought forward. They will justify in their own heads reasons why that is not the case, and they will look for any reason to keep taking shots. The only thing you can do is move on and ignore people. And when they pull stuff like that, where they try to, you know, publicly call somebody out over a 10-year-old accusation that has never been brought to fruition.
A 10-year-old accusation that has not been proven.
Never.
Yeah,
not proven. There's no
the opposite.
Yeah,
they're so full of shit. I'm sorry, they really are. They're so full of it.
But you know, they're going to keep they're just going to keep at it, because you know what? There's no punishment on their side. There's no downside for them to keep saying it. All they can do is just build themselves even higher by wrapping themselves up in this false victimhood.
Well, the thing that's even crazier is that these women who are involved with this accusation aren't even in the scene anymore. They're not even part of the scene anymore. They don't cosplay. They don't go to conventions. They're not part of this culture anymore. But yet these other women want to keep it going. For what reason? I mean, if you see Rick, I'm not too far behind. And if you see me, it's not too far behind. So it's not like he has an opportunity to go and assault people. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, someone literally at MegaCon last year wanted to say that he did something at MegaCon, and I'm like, there's no possible way. You were with me 90% of the time. Like that's there's no way. Why do they feel the need to blatantly lie when there's witnesses showing that this is a lie?
It's like we were saying with the whole Vic Mignogna situation. They see an easy target. They see someone that they can tear down, and they try to build themselves up off of it, which is actually, we got a comment from TBH here.
Exactly.
That's because people more interested in people believing, quote unquote, their truth, as opposed to what actually is the truth. Yes, there is one objective reality, and if you live in an alternative one, seek help immediately. Seek help. Now, I don't want to do any bullying on our next subject. So if I go too far, Athena, you bash me over the head with But I was telling you I was asking you if you were familiar with Gotham High before the stream, and you were not familiar at all. I gave you a couple of details about it, and you just So let me catch the chat up. Gotham High is a graphic novel. It is not it is not a main continuity Batman story, so you don't have to worry. They are not retconning the Batman mythos to include this in any way. It is strictly an Elseworlds tale, and it is an Elseworlds tale of I want to call him Bruce Wayne, but I know that that's maybe just being mean. It is a Bruce Wayne who is the child of his father Thomas Wayne and his mother Maja something. Yeah,
I don't know.
She's from Hong Kong. And in this alternative universe, she is the one who actually starts Wayne Enterprises by taking her family's immense wealth and giving it over to his father to make Wayne Enterprises. The story takes place in high school because we all know what an avid learner Bruce Wayne was and how much he appreciated high school educations after he is kicked out of his boarding school. Now, I was always under the there you go. I was always under the impression that Bruce was self-taught, right? He goes and travels the world. He educates himself in incredible things. But in this reality, he is a border school brat. His parents do die, not in Crime Alley. A robber breaks into their mansion, gets through all the security, and it's more realistic, guys.
Yeah, what was he looking for?
The
Stuff.
pearls. They were looking for the pearls. Yes.
Did you find them?
I don't know.
I didn't read it.
Okay.
Okay. It gets better. Don't worry. Now,
what the hell? So, okay, throw the Batawang. Like, what the hell?
No, dude. So, in this reality, Selina Kyle and Jack Napier, whose name you're probably familiar with from the Michael Keaton Batman films, they are all teenagers in the same high school. And there is a really weird love triangle going on between Selina Kyle, who is also an ethnic minority now, Bruce Wayne, who is half Chinese, and Jack Napier, who's Baby Joker.
Okay.
We're all familiar with in the Batman mythos where Selina Kyle and Joker had a sexual attraction to each other. Are we not? Am I spoiling anything for anybody?
I was unaware of this, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, some iterations Joker was a sex pest, wasn't he?
The thing is, I would have taken a more realistic because I mean in the comic books, Joker is obsessed with Batman, right? He really is obsessed with Batman. So if you're gonna tell this high school story and this version of Joker had a thing for Bruce Wayne, I would have said, well, I mean it's closer to the mythos. But I have no clue where the Selina Kyle thing comes in, and it's very weird to me. It is very weird. Now it does get better. Don't worry. Are you familiar with the character of Alfred?
Yeah.
The loyal butler of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in this one, they decide to make their relationship a lot closer. Their family. Alfred is actually his uncle by blood, and he's gay, which was very important to me.
He has a different last name.
Why are you questioning the narrative?
He probably married into the butler. I don't know. Who knows?
For his clarification, because it does not sound like Wayne in any way.
This sounds like the same fan fiction that they put on this guy's grave.
Fathers and different father type situation, or
well, remember his uncle is fully Chinese, and so he probably isn't called Pennyworth. He probably has a different last name altogether, and they just refer to him as Alfred.
on the mother's side, then?
I don't.
Maybe.
Yeah, it would be related on the mother's side. Right, it would be related on the mother's side. The thing is, when I saw that, the first thought I had in my head was Alfred, Al, and I just thought of Big Gay Al from South Park. It's like, I went to that, huh? I thought it was a parody. I thought that would have been funny.
Oh my goodness.
Now I got some images from it. Nothing too revealing or spoilerific or anything. But are you familiar with the character of Dick Grayson, the original Robin?
Yes.
Another
one of Bill's creations.
Yes. Well, in this reality, obviously Batman is too young to have a surrogate son in Dick Grayson who loses his parents. So
Dick wouldn't be alive if Bruce is in high school.
Yes, well, in this reality, Dick Grayson is not a child acrobatic. He is a fat black nerd who gets picked on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's they some would say that it's not really Dick Grayson at all.
Coincidence.
Alfred inherited the name Pennyworth from his husband. What the? Wow, you're making that up.
No, yeah, that's what I said too. Like,
no.
I don't know. That's true. I didn't read it.
You're making that up.
From his husband.
Yeah. So when
gay marriage is not.
I'm telling you.
So. In this Elseworlds tale, just to clarify, Batman's father, Thomas Wayne, was not part of the Wayne dynasty. The Wayne dynasty is not a real thing.
You said that the mother is the one that had all the wealth.
Yes, and she is from Hong Kong because the author of this story is a major fan of Crazy Rich Asians. And she thought that would be really fun to put into a Batman story because these things obviously go together. And she's also a fan of Gossip Girl, so she decided to
wait, a fan of what?
Gossip Girl, which is also very well connected to comic books and Batman. And she decided to model Bruce Wayne after one of the characters in Gossip Girl, because as we all know, Gossip Girl is very relatable to the Batman story. I'm not done yet.
Was she on acid when she read this?
She needed some. It would have came out crazier and better.
No, something. I mean, what's going on here? Like, I'm sorry, Gossip Girl? Isn't that like?
Oh, it is real. Soga said your boy Zach went over the whole graphic novel.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Why?
Totally hate mail for that one, but I mean, isn't that what that is? Like,
oh my god, no.
I mean, whatever.
Well,
whatever.
So look, here's the thing, right? What I wanted your input on was what your thought of it was, and your facial interactions have told the story.
Just the shaking of the head is just like right there. That's the whole review. It gets a out of 10. You know, like
I actually wanted to write a comic about Bruce Wayne in high school and like how he's like coming into his own, kind of like what they did with Gotham, a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like actually, like Bruce Wayne.
Well, the thing, I think you could tell a story. Like I'm knocking on this pretty hard. Look, you could tell that story of. Oh no. She needed a fat black
dude.
No. Oh no. Ah, dude.
J-Man. No, not here. Get that off the screen.
It's so wrong.
I disavow J-Man.
I gotta disavow you, buddy.
But I won't because it's so bad.
That was bad. Okay, so look. If you want to tell that story of a younger Bruce Wayne, they did it in Gotham. It's definitely a story you could tell. In fact, I think in the Batman Begins movie, when they tell his story, Bruce doesn't just take off as a teenager, right? He tries to, he wants to go kill the mob, and it isn't until later when he disappears and he comes back. You could tell the story, and you could tell it intelligently, where he's still learning, right? Everything he needs to learn, and there. I think you could do that, right? As an Elseworlds Tale, focus on a younger take on all of these characters before they become who they're supposed to become, right?
No,
but this is.
I think it would be more focused about his trauma of his parents dying and coming to terms with how he wants vengeance towards Joe Cool, and how is he gonna, go after this person that killed his parents. And I think that would be more of an interesting story than bringing in these younger villains and stuff, because that's not relevant to who he was at that age.
No, I mean, like, if you wanted to show them as kind of like little cameos or things like that, right? I'm just saying you could.
I think you would really have to focus more on finding his own and his relationship with Alfred, and how Alfred kind of helps him find direction on how to deal with his trauma. I think it would be more of an overcoming story. So
I mean, you could do a whole thing where, like you said, Joe Cool, where he tries to find out who the individual is, right? So you get to see him, that early detective work, right? How he builds that character.
More of an interesting story than bringing in younger. I mean, I think the only younger one that you could possibly bring into is Cobblepot.
Well, see, now I think you're taking it all from Gotham, because young Cobblepot in Gotham was actually a pretty entertaining person in the show.
But
until he went off the rails.
Yeah, until he went off the rails.
The son of Gotham, he was, of high society, and kind of, banished. And I think that
you could actually, I think you could include a young Selena Kyle in there too. I think you could. I think if you told it intelligently. But the thing I don't like about this Gotham High thing is Bruce seems like obsessed with this relationship with Selena Kyle, and I'm like, yeah, anyone who's read the comics knows that it's Bruce who pushes back on any sort of love life, even if he does want it. He's not going to chase after a girl that's into another dude and then fight with that other dude to get the girl. Like, it's not who Bruce is. Oh, here, actually, Cheshire's got a good point. Young Talia is better. I mean, yeah, you could do like the League of Assassins is already scouting.
Later when he's like college age, when he goes into that whole storyline.
But what if you, and we're theory crafting here now, but what if you told the story and the League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul, is looking at taking Bruce Wayne in because he sees what Bruce Wayne is becoming, and he's sent Talia in there to kind of bring him to their side.
Okay.
I think I mean, like I said, I think that you could have told a really interesting story if you wanted to tell a really interesting story. Instead, they got an author who doesn't know Batman at all, doesn't know anything about the mythos of Batman, and thought that it would be fun to combine Batman with Crazy Rich Asians, which is a movie she likes, and Gossip Girl, which is a CW drama show that she likes. Because these things all go together. Like peanut butter and sauerkraut.
Peanut butter and pickles.
Well, we are. That was truly painful.
No,
oh, gosh,
it's all true. It's all true, by the way. But we are reaching.
Nipples, okay.
Oh gosh. I can't. I can't. Like,
no one.
It's just look. I'm not going to say that Bruce Wayne is this emotionless droid, right? No, he clearly has emotion, but the idea that Bruce is obsessing over a three-way relationship is just.
Well, you're also talking about high school, and high school is all about the drama.
I know, but like that's the thing. Bruce, back when he was a kid, he was disconnected from everything. Like
he was brooding. He didn't know how to cope.
mythos he was. He was disconnected from everything. And again, having to deal with the trauma of watching his parents get gunned down in front of him will kind of make you disassociate from society.
Exactly.
I think one of the most interesting things that they've done with Batman's character is the idea that he sees Bruce Wayne as the alter ego.
Right.
Bruce Wayne is the actual mask. Batman is all that actually exists. And you see characters you see authors able to tell that story and be intelligent with it. And I think if you saw a young version of Bruce Wayne who is struggling with the fact that he's not Bruce Wayne died in the alley.
That would be a way more interesting story than what you just described. Yeah. I mean, kind of like what you did with the Joker movie, right? The Joker has never had a backstory.
No.
Even in The Dark Knight, he tells different stories about how he becomes the Joker every time he tells his story, right? So there is no true backstory to that character, right?
True. Well, actually, I like the theory crafting behind who Heath Ledger's Joker was, and they think he was like military, which is why he brings up like a bunch of soldiers die, nobody gives a shit, and
right. Well, I think that with the actual Joker movie and watching him go through his spiral into further psychosis, and then how he deals with that, I think that is kind of more of the take that needs to be if you're going to tell that story of how Bruce Wayne deals with that and how really he does make that switch from I'm no longer Bruce Wayne, I'm really Batman, and Bruce Wayne is my mask. I think that...
it's like saying Bruce Wayne died in the alley, right? When his parents died, Bruce Wayne died too, and there was something else that got created there.
Wasn't that in the Paradox storyline where Thomas Wayne really is Batman? And
well, yeah, that was a Flashpoint where
Flashpoint,
yeah, Bruce Wayne dies, Martha dies, and Thomas Wayne goes from being a doctor to a casino owner, and he is brutal.
Oh yeah.
He's the Punisher. He's like the Punisher Batman.
No, he is. He's Batman meets the Punisher, and it's actually really entertaining. And like his Batcave is just like a single fucking 90s computer screen. It's like the best part.
So we are reaching almost 2 hours. Should we take questions if anybody has questions?
Of course.
If anyone has questions.
I have to gift the gab if you haven't noticed.
Oh man. Well, guys, ask us any questions. Parrot Head disagreed with us. He thinks that the best it would be like more like peanut butter and a dog.
It just doesn't mix at all.
Well, I mean, not if you put the peanut butter on your feet. Like I've been watching a lot of Ozark, and that's in the first I think it's the second episode.
Do what now?
Ozark's a great show.
Oh, it is. But do you remember the realtor, right? Sam, the second episode, she goes to find a house, and like the dude's in his chair, he's leaning back, he's just like groaning and moaning, and all of a sudden he backs up, he's got this jar of peanut butter, he's got peanut butter all over his feet, and his dog's been licking his feet.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I've seen the first season because I binge watch it.
This is very early on.
First season when it came out, which was 3 years ago. So
I'm finally getting into it, and I was watching it with my fiance, and she saw that scene, and she was like, "That's disgusting." Oh man,
worst places he could have put it. Okay.
I was right. Gotham High was in the process of becoming an animated series in the early 2000s. Would either of you like the link? I've actually seen a couple of these when I was looking at images on Google. Maybe I can show some of these.
Oh God.
Well, hold on, because this actually is kind of interesting. I think this is equally as terrible. When you see the characters, you'll see why. But this is like a cartoon. Hold on, let's share the screen. You need to see this. There you go.
Okay.
As you can see, that's Killer Croc right there.
Right.
That would be Cobblepot.
Yep.
This I assume is Bruce. We have fucking hell. Why not make Mr. Freeze a goddamn professor? He's an old ass man by the time.
Yeah.
That would be Ivy, right?
Yep, and then Harley and Joker.
Who has already fallen into the vat of acid.
Yeah. And then Catwoman, Batgirl.
Well, I don't actually. That would be Batgirl, but who is this character?
I don't. Scarecrow.
Oh, yeah, that works. That does. No, it does work. It does. This is Bane.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm having trouble identifying these two.
I think the one with the white hair would be Doctor Strange, Hugo Strange.
And this would be Two-Face?
Possibly.
Yeah.
This guy's got to be Riddler.
There's no race.
Yeah.
I got a question for everybody. Which is worse? What I just described to you, Gotham High, or Gotham High, the animated TV show?
I don't know. I hate everything about both, to be honest.
So if you read it, it does say that the photo above is Clayface, Two-Face, the Penguin, Killer Croc, the Riddler, Batgirl, Batman, Scarecrow, Catwoman, Joker, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Bane, and Mr. Freeze.
Huh. Okay, so this is Clayface.
Two-Face. That's Two-Face. Get it? Oh, wait, hold on.
What?
Because the one next to him, I get the white
hair. Clayface. That would be Clayface with the white hair.
Oh, no. This guy's got to be Clayface because his hand's made of clay. This would be Two-Face because, as you can see, his outfit is a different color and it slips directly down the middle.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, white hair and that's yellow hair.
Okay.
Gray shirt and that's a yellow shirt.
Okay, so yeah, it's in order then.
Oh, man. It was more fun guessing.
Hey, we were pretty close.
And we weren't that far off. Oh, God. No Mad Hatter, instant dislike.
I agree.
I agree. Mad Hatter was also one of Bill's creations.
Yeah.
Mad Hatter's a fun character.
Mad Hatter's crazy, like, interesting. You know?
Yeah, I think they could have done more with him on the show, Gotham. I don't think they really played him up enough.
They put him in Bad Blood, the animated movie. Batman Bad Blood.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen all the animated ones. There's too many.
Yeah, actually, the animated movies that DC does are actually really good. Well, they haven't been as well. They've been more hit and miss recently. But I'm talking like when they did Batman Year One, like that was really good. They did Batman Under the Red Hood. That was really good.
Yeah.
Did you see Batman Ninja? Because I love that movie.
Okay, so I really couldn't get past the animation for that. I don't really like that style, so I couldn't really watch it.
It took me a bit, but once I got into it, there's a ton of really amazing fan service in there.
No, I didn't really care for it.
I guess I'll have to try it again.
I loved it. Oh, man.
No, I didn't care for it.
Toy Bounty Hunters. The writer of Gotham High is a YA author that does millennial vampire stories. Well.
She should probably stick to that.
Ooh. Oh, that's the shade.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, don't worry about it.
That's the shade.
I said something worse.
That should tell you all you need to know about her credentials to write anything related to comic book superheroes. Well, yes. Oh boy.
If that's her niche.
Now we got J-Man who pointed that out to us. I think they were going to go the X-Men Evolution route with the original Gotham High. Maybe, but like X-Men Evolution made sense kind of because the Xavier Institute is legitimately a school already. So all they did was, and actually they had those characters as teenagers. The original X-Men were originally teenage superheroes.
Yeah.
So, Batman was never a teenage superhero. Oh man, I can't.
Again, and we're being so brutal, and I have to put myself in check because, like I said with the movies, this is somebody's interpretation of these characters, and some people are gonna like it, and some people are not gonna like it. So I just find it weird.
I know. Well, here's the thing: if you actually understood the mythos, and then you wanted to tell a story that's your own story, right? And it's an Elseworlds tale. I get that. It's kind of like the Flashpoint story where they show Thomas Wayne as Batman, right?
Right.
You could obviously hate that story, but at the end of the day, they're still within that mythos of who the characters are.
Right. This is so left field that doesn't really make sense. But I mean, again, neither did Aquaman.
One thing about the Aquaman movie, hold on. One thing about the Aquaman movie, they nailed the costume design. They did.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many problems with that movie. I'm sorry. There's really, I actually fell asleep during that movie in the movie theater during the big epic battle scene. I was like, this is boring.
Well, okay. Did you like the scene where he dives into the water and they had like those millions of fish creatures coming at him? Because I thought that was actually a pretty cool scene, but like the rest of the movie,
awesome visual stuff in that. Like, yes.
Just as a complete package,
very good at what he does. But as far as like the actual storyline and the look of Aquaman, I'm sorry, like they could have casted such a better person for that role.
Ooh, you're gonna upset all the Jason Momoa fans.
Too bad. I'm sorry. Go pick up any Aquaman comic and you tell me if he's got brown hair, brown eyes, and a freaking long ass beard.
I think what is it? I thought they were going for that Justice League cartoon look. I thought that's what they were going to do when they gave him like the triangle hand.
He does have a beard in there, and he's got the longer hair, but it's blonde. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jason Momoa as a blonde. Oh my God.
Well, we've had 2 live action versions of.
He's not a very good actor. Period.
Oh boy. Well, we've had 2 live action versions of Barry Allen, and Barry Allen is blonde, but both versions that they've shown us have had brown hair. And when I see that, I just kind of go like, no. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but
at least he has more of the personality of the character.
Charisma.
All right.
Yeah. Well, one does. I'm not gonna.
Are you just?
Yeah, no. Ezra Miller is a terrible casting choice. I can't get past that one. I like Greg Gustin's Flash. I do. I think that's way more in line with that character of Barry Allen. It's a totally different. It's a different backstory for Barry Allen. It's not being struck. Well, technically, it's being struck by lightning and being shattered with chemicals, but it was the whole. I'm going to get way off into the weeds here with this one. I'm going to
get anything.
Didn't we get from Cheshire? Didn't we get Gotham High already? It's called Batman Beyond.
No, that's
a good point.
Different because that's not Bruce Wayne.
No, but it is a Batman in high school. And he does deal with villains from high school.
Bruce Wayne. I'm sorry. That is not Gotham High School. And you barely see him at the high school dealing with any kind of crap that has to do with love triangle. No, it's him.
He has to take Bruce Wayne
for the man who came in and killed his family.
Hey. Batman Beyond, though. Like, for what Batman Beyond was, as far as showing, like, a completely original kind of storyline.
I was blown away by it that was in the 90s, and I watched the animated series, of course, and then when they started advertising for Batman Beyond, I'm like, what is this? Like, this is not.
It was good.
Like, what the? Get out of here!
It was.
I watched it. I was like, oh my God, this is so good.
It was so good. No, it was an amazing show. Batman Beyond. Like, okay, I still think Batman the Animated Series is. There's no topping that, right? There really isn't for me because there's just so much they did right there. But what they did with Batman Beyond, with what they were working with, a completely unique concept, a character who is not from the comic books at all, a character that's taking place far off in the future, and it just worked. And old man Bruce Wayne, right? That was good. Like, I loved old man Bruce Wayne.
It was awesome.
Okay.
I'd like to see them do Kingdom Come as a live action.
Ooh, actually, that would be fun. Well, I thought that they Gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think that they did maybe a comic series where they brought in Kingdom Come Batman, and he's if you haven't read the Kingdom Come comic, it is.
I own it. It was like the only one. My friend in high school. Okay, so I had a really good friend in high school who was totally into comics. He was more into X-Men, but I told him, because I knew he was one of my best friends. I'm like, this is comics. This is my association. And he's like, that's really cool. And so when I was in my early 20s, he's like, oh, you should really read this here. And he had the 3-part series. He didn't have it as one book yet. So he would give it to me to read. I'm like, oh, this is so good. And I was blown away by the artwork because Alex Ross is just an amazing artist. And the story was something completely different. Yes, it's a Justice League story, but I mean, as far as them being older and they're not together and they have to come back together for this final battle and like the conflict of them coming, the story. And so I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And so I liked it so much he bought me a copy of it. And it's the one that I've always like, oh my God, like we need to do this as an actual like live action story. I mean, it's amazing.
I mean,
I think it would bring people into the movies. I mean, it's just one of those things.
Well, I mean,
you really see these characters as they're older. You think of them forever being in their 30s and 40s, but that's not the reality. I mean, they're going to age, especially Batman. He's a man. He's going to age and he's going to die at some point.
So visually speaking, right? When you were talking about when I brought Batman Ninja, and you're like, well, that art style makes it hard to watch. Kingdom Come was really hard for me to read, and it took me a while to get through because I'm not a fan of the photorealistic styling,
watercolor style.
It didn't do it for me in that aspect. Like I it's not that I didn't think it was great. It's not that I didn't think that it was done incredibly well. It's just, I looked at it and it took me a while to actually sit down and read it because I got through the first few pages like, oh no, this isn't what I'm used to, right? But you get past that and you get right into the story.
Style, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But I went to art school and I studied fine art. So that's what kind of brought me into it. It was very different. It wasn't the traditional comic art that you would see. And so that kind of is what brought me into that and like made me want to see more of it. So I understand. Some people are very traditional and some people are not. That's just the way it is.
But
oh my gosh, we passed the 2-hour mark.
Oh boy.
I know.
Yeah, we did. I think we should stop the stream because I've never streamed for this long.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, you're fine.
If you have time, we can start talking about Marvel comics.
I don't know that much. My favorite character is Wolverine.
It's always Spidey for me.
Okay.
Like I'm just a huge Spidey fan. Wolverine's not a. He's a distant second.
Yes, he is now.
Distant second. Sorry, I still think Spidey.
That's okay.
Well, one of my favorite comics is actually the Spider-Man versus Wolverine.
Okay.
I really do like that one because you just see because Wolverine pisses Spider-Man off to the point and tweaks him out, and and it gets and it actually ends like Spidey kills somebody because he's fighting Wolverine. And this girl sneaks up on Spider-Man, knowing of his spider sense, knowing he's in the heat of battle, knowing he's young and immature, and draws a gun on him. So his spider sense goes off and he immediately punches back. And the point was the person was trying to commit suicide by Spidey. And they did.
Ooh.
It's a pretty intense comic.
Yikes.
Yeah. That's no, I'm totally off into the weeds with this stuff now.
On that lovely note that you just put out there, take it away, Crow.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into another stream on Crow Judgment. Please say a very special thank you to our very special guest, Athena Finger, for coming on to our very small channel. It was really nice talking to you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's even better learning about the history of the mafia in comic books.
right. Google it.
And of course, as always, Origami, who decided to grace us all with the presence of his beautiful face.
Shut up. Anyway,
You're super handsome. Come on.
thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be here. It sounds like, you spent most of your life fighting against everything to get where you are. So I hope one day
when I
you
write
have
my
peace.
book someday, it will be called Survivor or something along those lines. Yeah.
Hope you and your boyfriend find peace and you all can just live your life.
Oh, we do.
Be happy.
Don't worry about that.
Well, and
all over that.
and we can say this, and we have the documented evidence of it. You are indeed the heiress of the Dark Knight.
Yes.
So, thank you.
And we now know that Bob Kane has fan fiction all over his tombstone, so that's important.
Oh.
It's important to leave off on a high note.
It is. All right, guys. Bye-bye. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care.